The meeting is now open, and to have your cell phone or electronic device, please set it to silent. And that public comments made during this meeting are audio and video recorded and shall form part of the record, which will be retained according to the town's retention bylaw. And for more information about the collection, please see the clerk's office. If anybody is joining online, lucky you for being home somewhere warm, because it's absolutely freezing in our council chambers tonight. So we'll go on to the approval of the agenda, and we'll start with the recommendation. We are asking council's permission to have one additional item, which under the addition of litigation or potential litigation. It's an update on ongoing local planning appeal tribunal appeals. So because of the summer break, staff needs some direction from council. So with concurrence from council, we can add that item as opposed to coming in another day. That's our incentive. So could I have a mover and a seconder for the amended recommendation? Deputy Mayor Davidson and Councillor Payne. All those in favor? Are there any disclosures of interest? Seeing none. The first item of business is consideration to go into closed session. And that's moved by Councillor Nicol and Councillor Van Berkel. All those in favor? That's carried. So we will now go in closed, and if people are online, we'll be back here for our regular council meeting.
Test, test.
our special council meeting that we're closing up that we started earlier. So I would ask mover and a seconder for rise and report from closed session. Moved by Deputy Mayor Davidson, seconded by Councillor Nicol. All those in favor? That's carried. Item number 1 on our closed session is moved by Councillor Van Berkel, seconded by Councillor Payne. All those in favor? That's carried. Item number 2 regarding Parkland, moved by Councillor Nicol, seconded by Councillor Van Berkel. All those in favor? Thank you. Item number 3, litigation or potential litigation, development charge appeals. Councillor Nicol, Councillor Van Berkel, all those in favor? That's carried. And finally, item number 4 on the LPAT appeals. Councillor Ices, Councillor Payne, all those in favor? And that's carried. The confirming bylaw. Councillor Payne and Councillor Van Berkel, all those in favor? That's carried. And finally, adjournment at 6:57. Councillor Nicol, Councillor Van Berkel, all those in favor? That's carried. So we have 3 minutes until we start the regular council meeting. It's great to see so many people out tonight.
Thanks for coming.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We very much appreciate the attendance, those watching online and those who've come out this evening, and to staff and council. Looking forward to a full agenda, but a really great agenda all at the same time. I'm going to declare the meeting open now, and I'm going to let you know that, or ask you if you would please, if you have a cell phone, if you could put it on vibrate or silent so that we won't be interrupted, and to tell you that any comments made tonight at this meeting are audio and video recorded, and they shall form part of the record, which is retained in accordance to the town's retention policy or bylaw. And for more information about that collection, you can see our clerk's office. So I did want to open the meeting this evening and just recognize a friend and a special guest here this evening, and his name is Tristan. Tristan is 7. And Tristan watches council. He's a regular watcher of our council meetings on our live stream. So welcome to the council chambers, Tristan. I also met a young woman earlier this week at another function who's 8, and her name's Olivia. She also watches us on live stream. So I think we are getting the younger generation interested in municipal politics, and that's got to be a good thing. So we'll start our meeting with open forum, and we did have some people sign up for our open forum this evening. Our first item, or our first person to speak is Laurie Chalmers. Laurie wants to speak about item D6. So we do have about 15 minutes for open forum. So, and with 3 speakers, if you could keep your comments about 3 to 5 minutes, that would be wonderful.
I just want to say thank you to Council for having this on the agenda tonight, and thank you to Barry for putting a report together for everyone to review. My name is Laurie Chalmers, and my husband and I operate Chalmers Construction at 3231 Thomas Street. And for the last 10 plus years, we have had issues at times, not consistently, accessing our property due to the traffic that comes to the North Toronto auction, both on Thursdays and on the Saturdays. And if anybody's been up there, they've witnessed it. I don't need to really say too much about that. It is a little difficult when you're paying taxes to think that at times you can't access your own property to conduct business. We don't always operate on weekends, but when we need to get tractor trailers in and out, it is a reasonable expectation that we can do so. Tractor trailers cannot turn on a dime. We are legislated by Innisfil bylaws to conduct industrial type work in an industrial park, and hence we are there. And so we need council to understand that we need clearance to both sides of the roadway to make a clear turn with those tractor trailers without impeding or impacting any public vehicles. I personally would like to state that I don't believe that there should be any parking allowed in any industrial park. I believe that was the actual bylaw when I purchased there. I feel that it is a huge health and safety issue for emergency response vehicles, and that these are places in which people work. So we have to have an expectation that we can get in and out with emergency vehicles to those properties. Also that it's one of these, in the construction industry, I attend numerous auctions. We buy most of our things through auction, and anyone that I've been to all across Canada, if there isn't clearly sufficient parking on grounds, people are shuttled in from everywhere. I've never ever seen an issue with vehicles on a roadway. And so the staff report has indicated that it is the recommendation to not allow parking on our side of the road in front of the driveways, and I'm asking that you actually accept option number 5 that gives clear access to both sides of the road so that I can turn those tractor trailers in a safe manner without having to feel that I am impacting the public or causing any safety concerns on our side. We have been very good neighbors. This is 10 plus years of issues, and so I just hope that we can put it to bed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, and we'll be dealing with that a little later in the agenda. If you have the ability to stay, you're more than happy to stay and listen to the debate if you wish.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next item, or the next person, is Deb Crawford, and she's speaking on item B4, which is the Heritage Committee minutes.
Thank
Whenever
you.
you're ready.
I'm Deb Crawford, 36 McNaughton Drive in Guildford, and LOL 1R0. And I'm here on behalf of the Innisfil Heritage Committee, and specifically to talk about item B4. But before I go on to that, I just wanted to say it's been a while since I've been up here to address council, and there are a whole number of different faces. So I would just like to say congratulations to those who are new and for those who are returning. Thank you. It's great seeing you all. During our meeting at the Heritage Committee in June, we recommended that council support our recommendation to proceed with the designation of 3851 Fourth Line in Innisfil. And I know in your package we've done a lengthy amount of research and attached pictures and all kinds of things. But one of the things that is always a struggle and perhaps a dilemma when you're looking at designating properties is sometimes the property owners are not exactly supportive of that concept. I would like to introduce tonight Gary Doherty. Gary is the owner of the property with his wife Joy Short. Gary was first to contact us at the committee to request help in seeing if his property would be considered for designation. And we've been working with him for almost a year now. It's taken a while for us to get through the election and the reestablishment of the new committees and sorting through the pecking orders and so on and so forth. And so we are really excited to be able to come to you tonight with our recommendation to start the process to designate the property on the Fourth Line. The committee goes through aside from the research, goes through a great deal of assessment and evaluation in determining the cultural heritage value or interest of a property. We have researched the property records, the history, the assessment records, the architectural style, the construction, as well as the community context of the property. The committee has used a handbook that has been adopted from other municipalities and the Heritage Toolkit in order to complete an evaluation guide as part of the process. 3 members of the committee individually assessed the property, with each concluding that the property had heritage value sufficient to meet the criteria for designation. This property is an example of early construction style. It has the potential to contribute to the understanding of the community, the culture, and supports the character of the area. This is, however, just the beginning of the process. Optimistically, once you support this recommendation later tonight, the next step will be for town staff to issue notice of intent to designate to the property owner, the Ontario Heritage Trust, and publish a notice in the newspaper. The committee members are not lettered experts. And of course, we rely on the expertise of town staff to guide us in this process. However, my layman's understanding is that if there are no objections, this will come back to you at a point in the future for your final approval to designate, and a bylaw will be passed and registered on the site. This is an exciting first step. In Innisfil, only 4 other properties are designated under Section 4 of the Act. The Cross House, which is on this corner of the 7th line and 20th Side Road. Knox Schoolhouse, which is on 10th line and 9th line and Huronia Road. Chimney Copse, which is on the 3rd line, and the Sawyer House on the 6th line. The property has been named through our process as the Sloan Doherty Short property. The original clapboard structure was built around 1850 by the Sloans and is currently owned by Gary and Joy. We look forward to hearing your discussion or hopefully your approval of this first step and taking the following steps to add this to our designated properties in Innisfil. Thank you very much for your time, your consideration, and if you have any questions at some point, I'd be more than pleased to answer them. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Ms. Crawford. The next speaker is Gary Doherty, and that's also item B4 and the same house. Mr. Doherty, did you have anything to add to what Ms. Crawford said?
Not really. I'm just here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for reaching out to the Heritage Committee. So that is the end of open forum. And the next item would be the approval of the agenda, and I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda for June 26th. Councillor Van Berkel, Councillor Nicol. Any agenda repair required? Anything to be added, deleted? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Next is declaration of disclosure of interest. Anyone have interest to disclose? Seeing none, if there is something that you that comes up as we're going through the meeting, you know the rules. Next are presentations and petitions, and our first presentation is the annual Pitch-In Day update. And the chair of the Pitch-In Committee is Councillor Kenneth Fowler.
Good evening, fellow Innisfilians, Mayor Dolan, Deputy Mayor Davidson, and esteemed councillors. My name is Kenneth Fowler, councillor for Ward 5 and chair of this year's 2019 Pitch-In Working Committee. I am incredibly proud to report to everyone that this year's Pitch-In Day was one of the most successful to date. Even the weather outside sought to assist us. The wind was on our backs and the sun shone down on our faces. Initially, I would like to announce the winners of the 3rd annual No Littering Poster Contest. This contest is open to all elementary school students within Innisfil, and this year there were 4 schools that participated. They are outside in the main entrance when you come in. From Lake Simcoe, Selena Sentosa Hardio from grade 5. From Cookstown Public School, Senoja S. from grade 5. From Killarney Beach Public School, Taylor R. from grade 3. And from Sunnyberry Public School, Preston Messina from grade 5. I'd like to thank and congratulate all the winners. We would like to recognize and thank our generous sponsor, Cedar Signs, who will transform their posters into actual street signs, which will be presented and posted outside each of the participating schools. The runners-up are over on the wall at the side over there. Feel free to take a look anytime. Now, no matter which part of Innisfil they lived in, residents, be they big or small, came out to give of themselves for the beautification of the town they hold so dear. For some, it was the first time. Others, another chance to show how Innisfil takes care of its own. It is because of them that our roads and parks were restored to the wonderful spaces they're meant to be. The committee was able to create lawn signs again this year that were posted around Innisfil to promote Pitch-In and were well received. It is a sad reality that despite our best efforts to educate and instill a sense of community ownership, many people continue to use our ditches as receptacles for waste and discarded materials. This is in spite of the fact that many such materials can be dropped off for free at a local waste management facility. We as a committee and a community strive to improve and maintain the natural beauty of Innisfil. It is important that environmental stewardship be considered year-round and not just on Pitch-In Day. It is our hope that with a no littering poster contest, we can inspire our young people to adopt these important attitudes early and continue to be beacons of eco-friendly respect that we take pride in. Equally important is Innisfil's very own Debbie Mills Civic Pride Award. This prestigious award was established in 2013 to recognize the dedication of outstanding individuals in our community. This year, we are honored to announce that the recipient is one Mr. Scott Bailey. As he is not currently present, Deputy Dan Davidson is going to be coming down to accept the reward on his behalf.
Scott Bailey is been a member of Innisfil most of his life.
At this point, we are excited to announce the winner of the Golden Broom. The numbers have been tabulated, and it's my pleasure to report that the overall winner with the most participants is Councillor Rob Nicol of Ward 7. He wins the much-coveted Golden Broom. The overall community winner this year is our own Mayor Dolan. Congratulations to you both.
You should flip it around so we can see it.
For those of you in the audience, you have no idea how coveted this trophy is, and something we all fight over every year. So it's like, what did they call that trophy that the Duchess won? Kind of like that.
I would also like to take the time to recognize the generous partnership of Innisfil's Fire and Rescue Services. Year after year, they open their facilities to us, providing us with bases of operation from which we distribute supplies to the many community volunteers who pitch in. The assistance and support of our volunteer firefighters help this event, make this event the success it is. Gentlemen?
Two, three. Thank you.
The pitching committee would also like to recognize the assistance and continued support of council, communications, and our operations team. Operations staff spend many hours cleaning up all the debris that has been collected by the many volunteers that support and help clean up Innisfil on pitching day and throughout the year. Truly, we want to say thank you. Johnny? Oh, how you take a picture? Oh. In closing, we would like to recognize the many sponsors and donations we receive each year that make this event a great success. This includes garbage bags to gloves, food, refreshments, prizes, and most preciously, our countless volunteers. Our sponsor list is up on the right on the wall over there if anyone would like to see all the people who invest in our town from within. I would also like to recognize fellow committee members. Anyone here would like to stand? Members of the council, Sue Bennett, who just stood, she's my vice chair, Ann Kell, Lynn Chaperny, Al Gilchrist, Robert Penny, and Rick Fearman. And last but by no means least, pitching would not continue without the ongoing success it is without the tired dedication of Ms. Kim Creamer. What many of you may not know is that Kim is an integral part of not just the pitching committee, but 4 committees in total. We would not be able to achieve the amazing goals we do without her steadfast support. So for that, I thank you, Kim. And lastly, please join me in a round of applause to show appreciation for everybody who took the time and effort to give of themselves for this day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fowler, and thank you for taking on the job of chair of the Pitch-In Committee. Of course, our goal is not to have one of these, and so that we wouldn't have to go down and do this every year and pick up as much garbage as we do. But we're so grateful to everybody who does come out after the snow is gone and help us clean up our streets and our parks and our ditches. So I would ask for a mover and a seconder to receive the Pitch-In Day update. Councillor Ices and Deputy Mayor Davidson. All those in favor? That's carried. And thanks from all of council. The next presentation is an exciting one, and it's from Alexander Josephson of Partisans, and he's going to speak to us about an exciting project that council is planning for the Innisfil Mobility Orbit Vision. Thank you and welcome, Mr. Josephson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Worship, and City Councilors. I'm really excited to be here today. Where's the first page? I guess there's the first page. It's a bit different than we think. Partisans. So why do we call our architecture studio Partisans? Because great architecture and city building is a group act. It's one of these things that we all come together and can really change the world. So we won this great RFP for the mobility orbit at Innisfil, and I've been coming out here for the last 6 months, and I have to say it's one of the most exciting projects in a studio full of exciting projects. And I'm excited to share just some of the first, what I would say, just discovery process things we've been working on and introduce our studio to you as a community, because we're gonna be working together for the next 6 months or so together, maybe longer. One of the important things about the project that we're working on with you, is this the first slide or is it? Is it? Okay, well, I think the order is a bit different, but it's fine. I'll wing it. So one of the most important things about the studio and what we're gonna do is we're gonna build this amazing story about Innisfil and the future for the train station that's gonna be built in the community, but also what kind of community would be built around it. And to do that, we need to tell this amazing story of where Innisfil is, who the people are, and what it's all about. And the reason I think we wanted it is we also did this for Toronto, and we did it for this pitch called the Amazon HQ2 project, which was basically Toronto's way of telling its story. I know this sounds crazy, but Toronto actually never had all of this put together until last year. Which I found astonishing, but we ended up doing it anyways. And so I just wanted to come here and show you a little bit of a sneak peek of the beginnings of our work for Innisfil. And I'm gonna start going through these slides. So Innisfil, we're in Southern Ontario. I'm hoping that this will also be familiar to people around the world, because the idea of this project is to really ignite interest in Innisfil as a progressive town. And I think you already are one of the most progressive municipalities in the world, if not Canada for sure. And coming from Toronto, it's easy to say that, because you guys are doing amazing things. Here's some of the stats about Innisfil, giving you a place and a space and and a relationship to the region, connecting you to infrastructure. And I think it's really exciting that you're going to be part of the regional infrastructure in this project. I like to say that it's sort of these kinds of connections lead to all sorts of improbable projects happening. This is the sort of nature of the orbit, and I think it's a really cool idea, this idea of an orbit. Most cities are planned in a grid, they're really rigid, you develop them piecemeal, and this is about a kind of holistic vision. And so the orbit is this kilometer diameter, or really 800-meter diameter circle, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a circle at around the 6th line and the railway track, okay? And so we're trying to situate Innisfil and the new station in this new amazing place that really has great access to Toronto, but also shows your relationship to the best of Ontario. So Muskoka, rural kind of lifestyles, but also proximity to some major urban infrastructure, Barrie and Toronto, but also other locations like Waterloo and Hamilton and Ottawa. Ironically, it takes you less time to drive to Pearson than it takes me to drive to Pearson, and I live at Yonge and Bloor. So I thought that was kind of a fun little exercise. This is kind of driving down deeper. I should have worn my glasses. I hope you guys have yours. This is some of the local community infrastructure that we've sort of started on to map. And the red dot in the middle, that's the location of where the orbit's going to be. And driving deeper, we have information about the towns, districts, the network of Uber transit that's been piloted here, which I think is really exciting, and some information about that user group. And then this is the location of the orbit. And we use the word orbit because I think some of the staff you have at Innisfil are amazing, especially the planners. This is a totally kind of visionary way of looking at a city. You have the station, which is going to be like the sun, and then there's going to be all these amazing things that can happen around it. And I think it's up to the community to decide with the leadership what's going to be there. And it doesn't have to just be homes. And hopefully it'll be a little bit more visionary than the typical way that we think of our city building processes. This is who owns all the land. I've taken the names off because it's just important to realize that there's actually only a few people that are going to be actual physical stakeholders, along with Metrolinx, the city, and of course staff. And we're already started to reach out to these groups and work with them. And so this is going to be a much more collaborative process than you've normally seen when it comes to city building, which is exciting, I think, and it's something to be really optimistic about. These are some of the kind of things that I was talking about. So a hospital, a school, just to give you a sense of scale. This is sort of like the definition of an orbit. I think of it as like a planet. And then this is what we could have. So we're talking about bringing together all sorts of interesting community assets and potential infrastructure along with living and working. And I think it's a really exciting way to lay the future of Innisfil together. And I'm looking forward to doing more of these presentations and telling you more about our progress and telling you about where we are in the scope of the project along the way. So that's basically it. If anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. Questions or comments? Seeing none, it's great of you to come out and visit with us tonight and introduce yourselves to us, the larger us, which is Innisfil, and to get a sense of where your thinking is. I've had the opportunity actually to visit their studio once and see some of the projects that they're currently working on, and we're very, very, very fortunate to have someone of this caliber working in Innisfil, and we are very excited about the vision that you'll bring to us in the future.
Well, I hope I make you guys proud. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's exciting.
Thank you. Is any staff, Mr. Kane, Mr. Rayner, anything you'd like to add?
Just, through your worship, to the audience, I'd just like to add that there will be a public consultation piece throughout this process. What you're seeing tonight is the first step in just introducing the concepts and just in letting people know that this process has started. We'll be reporting back at key junctures and reaching out throughout this process because this is probably, in the words of our economic development catalyst, one of the most important projects that's ever been conceived in Innisfil and probably will be for a long time. So we want to make the effort to get this right and have something that we're all proud of.
Mr. Rayner?
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Alex, for the presentation. It's excellent. We too are excited on the staff side as well. The only other piece I would add is part of the conversations internally and with council over the last number of years have been about how we embrace the growth tsunami that is coming out of the GTHA, but also maintain the small town charm that is so important to Innisfil and has always been. And one of the ways of doing that, it's not necessarily the best, but it's one of the ways, is to look at intensification in an area that isn't currently occupied by residential, and have some intensification and density, and make it look and feel a little bit different than other parts of Innisfil. But that's partly because it allows other parts of Innisfil to remain very much what we love about Innisfil, which is those large open spaces, agricultural fields, woodlots, natural heritage. So we may be able to have our cake and eat it too. We're still exploring that, but I think that's one of the unique pieces of why we're diving so deeply into this program with partisans and our stakeholders and our developers, is to look at how we can have that growth but maintain that community character. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. And just a bit more background, too, for those who maybe have been following the GO train station saga over the years. And for many, many years, we've been advocating for a stop here in Innisfil. And several years ago, we were approved to have our GO train station. At that point, the policy was for the government to simply go out, RFP it, build it, and we were part of an RFP through the former government that I think was about 4 or 5 GO train stations captured in one bundle, and they would simply build it. However, they would build exactly what they wanted, pretty cookie cutter, you know, and you've all been to them, not enough parking, you know, issues surrounding egress and entrance and so on. So, but we were getting our GO train station. So that's where we were. And then the concept changed through the province and through Metrolinx, was given a new direction that the municipality, the municipality would be responsible for the building of the train station. However, it would be through private development based on density or making that area more dense, therefore making it more profitable for a business, a private entity to build something. But again, we didn't want just a plain old boring GO station. We want to build something special and make Innisfil even a bigger name than it is now in Ontario, and hence Mr. Josephson and his firm, and we're excited to have this conversation. This is just the beginning. It's kind of a blank page, but we're all here today, and everybody will be given the opportunity to have their say in what this vision looks like going forward. So thank you again for being here, and I'll ask again just in case I've stirred up any questions. Seeing none, can I have a mover and a seconder for the presentation? Councillor Waters and Councillor Van Berkel, all those in favor? That's carried. Thanks again. Our next delegation is the Innisfil Rotary Club, and they're here to update us on the Rotary Trail. And I would take this moment to introduce a special guest and one of our most famous Rotarians, and that's former Mayor Barb Bagley, one of the founding Rotarians and the first female mayor of the town of Innisfil. Welcome. Thank you. Whenever you're ready, Doug.
Mayor Dolan, Deputy Mayor Davidson, councillors. My name is Doug Weber, and this evening I stand before you representing the Rotary Club of Innisfil. And along with me is Barb, Chris, Grace, and of course, Ann. We ask the councillors to support and continue the stewardship support of the Rotary Trail built here on the campus lands. With the town of Innisfil, we've helped build these trails over the last several years, and it's a continued process in motion. As with the previous council, we're asking for your continued support in moving this forward. Some of the signs, benches, and musical instruments have already been installed. And for anybody that's been for a walk out there on the trails, know how amazing it is. And we're continuing to build more new pathways each and every year. I want to recognize two of the town staff that have been instrumental in our joint success. One sits before us, Jason Inwood, as well as Amber Leal and their entire team. Some of you are new, and we're making the same ask of you as previous councils, and that's the continued support, partnership of the Rotary Trail and the amazing development of this campus. Ask any Rotarian about this amazing trail. And at this point, is there any questions of what we would like to continue building and envisioning for the future?
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Questions about the Rotary Trail? I can tell you that I do use it on occasion, and it's nice when you're sitting at a desk all day to just walk out the door and put on your running shoes. And I have to tell you, in the spring, the trilliums throughout that forest are absolutely spectacular, and I can see staff nodding their heads. So I know I'm not the only one out there using it at lunch hour. Councillor Waters, did you have? No? Okay. Seeing no questions, is there anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Weber?
No, just thank you for your continued support, and please help us to continue to build and develop this amazing campus with the partnership of Rotary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the recommendation is that the Rotary Trail, or the delegation regarding the Rotary Trail update be received as information. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Payne, Councillor Waters. All those in favor? That's carried. And I would ask that, you know, definitely reach out to the same staff, and we'll certainly do whatever we can to support you. Next is another very special guest, and that is Buddy. And of course, Buddy's handler. And we're happy to hear about Cope Service Dogs.
Thank you, Mayor Dolan and councillors, for allowing me to come and talk about Cope Service Dogs' next event, which is to occur on July 27th. It's called Buddy Paddle Simcoe. It's a paddling event that could be 25 kilometers long, or chances to join in at 10, 5, and 2 kilometers, but ending at Leonard's Beach at the end of the 10th line. The event is to raise awareness about Cope Service Dogs Canines in the Classroom program, which takes place at Nantar Shore Secondary School, a program in which students are taught to train dogs to become service and therapy dogs. And not only do they develop 21st century skills that will help them in their future, but they also have incredible mental health gains. And it's about that awareness that we are having the event, and also raising funds for that program. The finish line is at Leonard's Beach, and we're having a sort of a after party there, which is a dog-oriented, has dog-oriented activities planned. So we're requesting that non-service dogs be allowed in Leonard's Beach. And also that non-residents could be allowed to park in the resident-only parking lot on Ireton Court. Are there any questions about the event or the request?
Thank you. Questions about the event? Councillor Waters?
How many people are you anticipating that will be paddling from Barrie down to Leonard's Beach?
We're thinking about 50, but it's the first time that we've had an event of this nature. So we're thinking about 50, but we're unsure at the moment. Probably more as we get closer to Leonard's Beach, but I'm thinking about 50 or so.
Excellent. I can't wait to see it.
Thanks.
Councillor Payne?
And with the weather that we've been having lately, if we have a lousy day, is it going to be postponed and redone at another time?
No, we're just going to muscle through it, I think.
It's just that day,
Yeah.
huh? Okay.
Buddy's pretty tough.
But he is not traveling, maybe the last kilometer this time. He toughed it out for 8 days last year in the inaugural Buddy Paddle Simcoe to honor his retirement from 13 years in Canines in the Classroom. So we're giving him a break this year and only getting him on the board for a little bit.
And can I ask what time you think that the festivities might start at Leonard's for those who'd like to come and watch you land?
The festivities would start at about 1 o'clock, and the landing will be variable time depending on weather, etc. So we're hoping that sometime between 1 and 4, everybody will arrive.
Thank you. Other questions? I just want to thank you very much for being here tonight. I was lucky enough to see Buddy on his first day of paddling last year from the Innisfil Beach Park. And also it's been a pleasure to witness the difference that the Cope dogs make in many teenagers' lives who have told me that the only reason they went to school was for their Cope dog. So if it keeps those kids in school, it's definitely worth a lot. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I did have another question. I understand there are no council meetings until August, and I just wondered if it would be possible to approve this tonight or before the event on July 27th.
Thank you. And I do have a revised recommendation on my sheet. And I'm going to ask the Deputy Clerk.
Through your worship, we were just discussing that there is no actual request on the agenda to approve this, and council would need to request the exemption, to approve the request for an exemption.
Thank you. So the wording I have on my agenda is requesting exemption to Animal Control Bylaw 068-06 and Parking Bylaw 028-17 to permit non-service dogs in Leonard's Beach Park and non-residents to park in resident-only parking lot on Ireton on July 27th.
Thank you, your worship, but that is actually the title of the delegation, that the recommendation would have to have that information as well.
Okay, so do we have a mover and a seconder for that? So Councillor Fowler and Deputy Mayor Davidson. And I'd ask communications staff, if I could, that they would put a note out to residents in advance to let them understand there was a special event that day. Thank you. That's good. Said that council approves the request, and that's in the title. So, and I had a mover and a seconder already, so all in favor of the recommendation? That's carried. We're done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is item 6.3, and that is Barrie and District Christmas Cheer for the 2019 Christmas Cheer Campaign Update. Welcome, ladies.
Good evening, Mayor Dolan, Deputy Mayor Davidson, and council members. Thank you very much for having us here tonight. My name is Leah Wells. I am the current president of Barrie and District Christmas Cheer, and I have with me Allison Jacks, and she is our Innisfil chair. It might seem strange that we're here to talk to you about Christmas on a day when it's actually 26 degrees outside, but we have a very important objective for 2019, and we actually work year-round in order to do so. For those who aren't familiar with Christmas Cheer, our objective is really to provide people in the community who can't necessarily afford it with a special Christmas. We have a little video clip that we'd like to share that will tell you a little bit more about what we do. Last year we helped 4,200 people altogether, and about 250 of those were here in Innisfil.
Hi, I'm Tanya. I have been at Christmas Cheer for 3 years now. I am the toy auditor, which means I look after every single toy that gets packed into the bags. This year we did 1,253 bags of toys for the kids in the community. When you have mothers and fathers come in and they start to actually cry because this may be the only things that their children are going to get this year, that's it. We get just so many wonderful people.
My name's Leah Wells. This is actually my 3rd year with Christmas Cheer, and I'm currently the Vice President. Christmas Cheer is a great way to bring together the community. Working here as a volunteer, I've gotten to know so many wonderful people. And on our distribution days, getting the opportunity to meet the clients, the people who are coming in to receive Christmas Cheer, is really heartwarming. It's really nice to see everybody giving back.
I'm Mike Blaker. I've been with Christmas Cheer about 17 years now. So everybody deserves a Christmas. I mean, it's terrible at Christmas time. I've got kids that are growing up now. And I got a granddaughter now, and I couldn't imagine her waking up Christmas morning not having anything to wrap. So anything we can do to make it better, at least this time of year for people, is a bonus.
I'm Sandy Porter, and my role is, together with my husband, we organize all the schools for Christmas Cheer. We get in touch with teachers who would like to be the school rep, and we ask them if they would run some kind of a program that would bring in toys or food for Christmas Cheer. It's just great to see these kids giving back. We also have tours for the kids now, so we've had a couple of groups come through. It's nice for them to see the fruits of their labor. Once they've loaded the bus, they can see where the bus comes and what we do with everything they give us. When I first started, I think we were dealing with maybe close to 1,000 families in the area. Now we have closer to 1,700. On delivery days when the clients come in to get their toys and food, it's just an amazing day. It's very heartwarming.
It's Ian Hocking. I'm the president of Barrie District Christmas Cheer. I first came involved in Christmas Cheer like 4 years ago, and to just walk into this environment and see what's going on, you just feel like you have to do something. There's unfortunately a need in our community, and it's not getting any bigger, it doesn't seem, but it's also not going away, which is unfortunate. So to be able to do something on a larger scale like this means a huge amount to me. I think I'm going to give you a short story here because last year I was sitting down at the front of the warehouse, and there was a lady sitting down at the front. She was on her own, and she had 3 bags of toys, 3 big toys, 2 boxes of food and a turkey. And she was sitting down and she started to shake. And I saw her, I went over and sat next to her, and I said, "Are you okay?" And she looked me straight in the eyes and she said, "Thank you so much for giving me my dignity back." And that, to me, is huge. So yes, we're giving out toys and we're putting food in boxes, but what we're really doing is we're giving families a Christmas who would probably not have one otherwise.
We were lucky enough to have that video done for us by Wiley Ford as a donation, so that was wonderful. It really helps us get the message out. What you were seeing was our Barrie headquarters. Basically, Innisfil is one of our satellite communities, although it was originally started over 40 years ago in Innisfil. We do applications for people in Innisfil. Their Christmas is packed in Barrie, and then it comes back here. And with the support of the Innisfil Lions, we're able to do the applications and distribute just before Christmas. It's wonderful. We've distributed a list of the upcoming events, starting with our Christmas in July barbecue. I think all of council received a copy. We're just looking for your ongoing support. You've been great. We're really trying to get the message out. So we'll be promoting our events and our applications and distribution dates on social media, flyers. We're in the parade every year. Again, Innisfil is a great community. There are a lot of great organizations, and we're happy to be one of them that are just helping people out at a tough time of year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Wells and Ms. Jacks. Questions or comments? Councillor Payne.
I don't have any question, but I just want to thank you for all that you do. There's so many people that are happy because of what you do, so thank you.
Thank you, and we have a lot of volunteers from Innisfil as well. It's very rewarding. I mean, of course, we appreciate the thanks, but it's so personally rewarding.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, a recommendation to receive the information from Barrie District Christmas Cheer, Councillor Payne and Councillor Fowler. And please, yes, share all that information. We all have social media that we can help spread the word, so appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. That's the end of our delegations for this evening, so good night for those who are leaving now. Next is County Council, Municipal Associations, and Conservation Authority Committee updates. Anyone have a committee update they'd like to bring forward? Deputy Mayor Davidson, as the county update would be wonderful.
Thank you. Recently, the town of Innisfil has been working with the developer in the community to build a seniors retirement village. I think we'll refer to it as a Tollendale 2 on Big Bay Point Road. And it's the first time we've reached an agreement with our neighbors to the north to share infrastructure to service it. And it'll benefit the residents of Innisfil for the first time, and where when they need to leave their homes, they'll actually have a retirement village they can move to from beginning to end. And I don't know if you've been to Tollendale, but it really is a beautiful development over just off of Hearst. And I know a lot of residents of Innisfil who have stayed there and lived there. I've been there many times to see them. And I think it's a great that we had our MPP, Angela Kanjan, support us with a minister's order to move ahead with this project. So I think it's a great achievement for Innisfil. Thank you.
Thank you. The only other Simcoe County item that I would bring forward from our last meeting, and the cards are on the front table. There's a new Simcoe County app for waste. As you know, your garbage collection is done by Simcoe County, and I know this past Monday there were some issues with a late pickup. The final, I think they worked till about 8 o'clock that night, but have you had the app, you would have known, leave your garbage out, somebody is coming to get it. So it really is handy. They can interact in Innisfil, we have several different pickup or collection days, and it knows where you live because you put your address in, so it can give you specific information you need to know about your garbage collection. So we really encourage everybody to get the app. And then the only other comment I would have, two other meetings of importance that I attended. One was the South Simcoe Police Services Board meeting, which was Monday evening. As many of you know, we get a lot of requests for speeding and aggressive drivers, and South Simcoe Police have answered the call, and their provincial offense notices, or speeding tickets as we call them, they're up 34% year to date this year already. So they've issued 3,471 tickets so far this year. So they've been much more aggressive with ticketing as we have requested them to, because we're getting so many complaints about dangerous driving. So we appreciate that very much. The other item I would bring to council's attention, which was a good news story from the South Simcoe Police Services Board, was there was a person, a vulnerable person, nonverbal, who was at Sandy Cove Acres, and nobody knew who they were, so they shared a picture on the social media, the Twitter account for South Simcoe Police, and within 40 minutes, somebody in Arizona who knew the family in Innisfil identified who that person was, and they were home safe within 40 minutes due to the social media accounts through South Simcoe Police. So yeah, some social media can be used for good. And then my final comment was this past week, Thursday and Friday, there was an annual meeting of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO. And all of the leaders from across Ontario were in Rama First Nation for Indigenous Peoples Day, but also in the home of the Secretary-Treasurer, which is Trevor Wilcox from the County of Simcoe. So it was wonderful to host so many leaders from Ottawa to Kenora to Windsor, all here in Simcoe County. And that's my notes. Anyone else? Seeing none, then we'll move on to our consent list. So the consent list is the list of all of the reports that are on our agenda. They come with a staff recommendation. If council's satisfied with the staff recommendation, it will not be pulled. If council wants further discussion on an item, asking a lot of questions, have debate, or change the recommendation, it will be pulled and go into committee of the whole where to be discussed further. So I will start with that list. First is item A1, which is the special council meeting minutes of May the 29th. A2, the special council meeting AGM minutes dated June 5th. Next was the regular council meeting minutes dated June 5th. Next was the special council minutes dated June the 19th. Next was the Pitchin Committee report from June the 6th. The Accessibility Advisory Committee report dated June the 11th. The Innisfil Beach Park Ad Hoc Committee report dated June the 11th. I think in absence of the chair who sent her regrets tonight, Chair Orsatti, I thought I would just let people know that this group has been meeting since March twice a month. And you will notice several changes going forward. Some pilot projects we're going to try to address some of the challenges that we found in the park. Residents within about 1.5 kilometers of the park will have by now received a letter suggesting that we will be piloting making the road in front of their house for resident parking only on weekends and holidays. This is an effort to end the issues we had with people blocking people's driveways and walking into the park, and in order to avoid paying the parking fee in the park. So we're trying that. We've hired a paid duty police officer to be there to help with our bylaw officers this week as well. This weekend, because we believe with a nice warm hot weekend, the first hot long weekend we've had, we think we'll be at full capacity. And we've made some other changes as well. We have a dedicated person at the boat launch for a few hours in the morning to help in that heavy period make sure that it flows properly. And the actual committee themselves will be meeting on site in the park during the long weekend to walk through and see how these changes are working. We've also, we'll be doing more enforcement on things like tents, the no smoking, and making sure the barbecues are in the barbecue area. So lots of things on the go. This is our first kind of test, and we look forward to reporting out after that to see if it made any changes or made any improvements. And I really want to thank Mr. Inwood, whose task it was to take many of these recommendations from the committee and make them work. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. Okay, next is the Innisfil Municipal Heritage Committee, dated June the 13th. Seeing none. The C1, the Council Discretionary Fund regarding Kanakwa Sports Incorporated. Next is the staff report regarding affordable passive house project. Next is the staff report deeming bylaw application by Irving Hales to merge on title 1125, 1135 Dalcab Crescent. Item D2, nothing. Item T3, 1205 Corm Street. D4, municipal responsibility agreement considerations for Centerville Stroud. Councillor Nicol?
Refer to committee, please.
D5 was the roads bylaw, and it was withdrawn at the request of staff to be reconsidered at a later date. D6, Thomas Street parking. Councillor Ices?
Refer to committee.
Thank you. D7, the fleet update. D8, the asset management policy. D9, the administrative update of staff corrective action policy. F1, nope, sorry, E1, my apologies. The Innisfil Beach Park resident-only permit parking bylaw. I just spoke to that, so. F1, Innisfil Pride, the festival 27 and 28. And next we move to the correspondence list. Item G1, the action tracking update for the second quarter, which we asked for. G2 from Jessica Jenkins, Ms. Jenkins and Carolina regarding project manager's traffic and transportation road rehabilitation program. Councillor Rob Nicol.
Sorry, I don't need to pull this. Jessica, thank you, thank you, thank you. Selby, King, Guildford, and the 20 Side Road, finally, thank you so much.
Item G3. That's regarding Reeve Boulevard and Third Line Culvert, South Innisfil Creek Drain Works. I will be really happy when we can go through a meeting without saying South Innisfil Creek Drain after 20 years. G4, from the Deputy Treasurer, Development Charge Report. G5, the Innisfil Creek and Nottawasaga River drainage work. Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question. I know that the town of Newcac is not announcing this whatsoever. Should we have an obligation to let our residents know that there may be an assessment coming to them?
Mr. Inwood, is Mr. Ninehouse here? No?
Your Worship,
there he
Mr.
is.
Mr.
Sorry.
Ninehouse is here, and I think we can, I can safely speak on behalf of both of us that as we get more information, we will certainly be sharing it with our residents.
And G6 from Development Engineering Lead, Erosion Control and Advancement Sedimentation for Canadian Green Municipalities Municipal Fund. Great, great news. Next are proclamations. G7, the town of Innisfil proclaims July 22nd to 28 as Innisfil Pride Week in the town of Innisfil. And G8, that's one was a proclamation for Innisfil Pride, and the other one's a proclamation for Fiert Simcoe Pride. There's no intergovernment correspondence. The next item, G9, In-Services Board of Directors meeting minutes. G10, regarding the 6-line servicing proposal. G11, also from Mr. Malcolm, regarding outdoor water use. G12, regarding the 2018 Schedule 11 water reports. And G13, the annual wastewater reports. Next is H1, that is the recruitment policy. Seeing none. H2, the Cookstown sewer capacity allocation update. So now we'll take our consent list and look at all of the items that were pulled, which were very few actually, considering how large this agenda was. D4 and D6 be referred to committee of the whole. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Davidson, Councillor Fowler. All those in favor? That's carried. And a motion to resolve to committee of the whole. Councillor Van Berkel, Councillor Waters, all those in favor? That's carried. So the first item, item D4. And that was Councillor Nicol, I believe.
Your Worship, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to move this or not, but I do have a seconder at this point with Councillor Van Berkel, so I'll move it just to get it on the floor and then maybe take it back. I just wanted to bring it out just for conversation if possible. I guess I had just a couple of questions with regards to this servicing or potential servicing agreement. I just want to know whether the prepaid DC charges will cover the connections potentially, which could be, according to the report, as little as 2 years and possibly up to 10 years. Will there be DC charges that will be collected that will cover those potential connections? Is my first question.
I'm not sure if I'm to call on Mr. Kane or Mr. Pierce.
I apologize. I should have.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you for the pause, and I'm going to look over at our Director of Finance as I try to answer this question. So my understanding is that the current DC background study doesn't have the Stroud servicing connections in it because they're sitting outside that 10-year time frame. The idea would be that if those services were extended ahead of time, that like many other projects in the town right now would be a front-ending arrangement with those developers, and then those charges would be added into the next round of the DC bylaw update, so they would start getting collected and reimbursed for that front-ending arrangement.
Thank you, Worship. Two more, if I may. According to the report, should we not be concerned that there is no upgrade or decommission dollars that are already set aside for this, or is that something you anticipate, the staff will anticipate that will be coming through as this progresses?
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Nickel. This would be part of the negotiation piece. We're going to want to be covered for that. For the okay.
Just two more quick ones, if I might. Maybe for Mr. Malcolm, I'm just wondering, is there any concern with in-services with 69 units that are taking over 10,000 liters per day from the lake-based system, which would not be returning it to the lake base or to the lake itself? Is there any concern with that amount of water being pulled from the lake to service a septic field?
I'm not sure is Mr. Switzer here? No, he's left.
Through Your Worship, Councillor Nickel. Sorry, I only heard a little bit of the question, but I believe you're asking, so the water currently does not come from the lake. It comes from the well in the ground, so we'd be putting the water back where it belongs.
Thank you for the clarification. And the last part of just in the justification highlights, looking at this type of system, the justification shows that it's for seasonal campgrounds, cottages, golf courses are using the system. And I'm just wondering again, if there's a potential for Stroud to have full services somewhere in, as the report said, somewhere in the 2 to 10 year range, if it would be more beneficial to the entire community to look at that, to go on a regular full servicing rather than trying to work with this temporary septic field for up to 70 units. Just again, I put it on the table. I didn't prepare a second or any revised recommendation. I just wanted to talk about my concerns with having a tile bed downtown Stroud that will be eventually, or could be decommissioned eventually, but it's just the system that they're proposing here is just for seasonal, fractional ownership and not for full-time residents. So I'm just a bit concerned with the proposal that way.
Any other questions or comments on the report? Councillor Ices?
Thank you, Your Worship. I, too, share those concerns that Councillor Nickel has. The risks to the town are significant with these temporary septic fields, I believe. I do know there's another large one in the town that isn't functioning well. I know this from a local business that has to deal with it not working, and that's fine when it's a private business, but when it's residents, that's something that we need to be very concerned about. So my thoughts, along with Councillor Nicol, are on how to proceed if we as council feel that this isn't the right way to go with this septic system. Things have changed a lot with servicing being on the horizon, possibly for Stroud in a shorter time period than we originally thought. With the road construction that's going on, there is some provisions being looked at to put those services along the road during construction to possibly change that timeline. So I'm wondering if we let this recommendation not pass, would that be the proper route to let the developer know that this agreement is not something that we feel is best for the town? That would be my question.
Mr. Pierce?
Through your worship, to the councillor, I think it's a very good question. It's a question that that we did pose in the report itself. I think I worded it as, by accelerating the timelines and getting development moving quicker on this property, is it worth the cost of potentially incurring a potential financial burden? It's a very difficult question to make a recommendation on, and I think what planning has strived to do is provide as much information as possible around the potential risk, how those risks are managed and are being managed, and some of the potential benefits of doing an accelerated development schedule.
Mr. Kane?
And just to add to Mr. Pierce's answer, through your worship, to Councillor Ices, the report tonight, this is a kind of a chicken and the egg scenario for the developer and in some ways staff as well. So for the Ministry of Environment, sorry, I don't know what the latest name is, Environment and Conservation and Parks, thank you. For them to start considering evaluating this proposal to give the town and the developer a comfort level of any kind, they need some sort of commitment from the town that we're willing to move to that next step. So this recommendation before you tonight isn't accepting that municipal responsibility agreement or committing you to a municipal responsibility agreement. It's simple. I don't want to call it a handshake on paper, but a letter of intent is basically just a general indication that with the conditions that are listed there on the resolution, that this is, council suggesting that, we are comfortable looking at one step further, save and accept, these things that still need to be answered. So it could be, for lack of a better term, not approved tonight, and that would effectively end the matter. But at this point in time, the resolution is to explore that next step further, just to fully understand this new system for the town, not only for this development, but other properties moving forward potentially that might be in a similar situation.
Mr. Rayner?
Thank you, Worship, and members of council. And I think if I could extend Mr. Kane's comments, the other alternative is to defer this report to the August meeting. And I think the comments that we're hearing tonight can be shared with the developer, and I think there may be other alternatives or certainly more depth, in-depth discussions within services in terms of potential options and potential directions, particularly given council's comments. So rather than defeat it, which would mean a reconsideration if you decided to change, if there was other information that came forward, you could defer it until the August meeting, giving us a little bit more time to have a discussion.
Councillor Van Berkel.
Your Worship, there are other communal septic systems in town, just to answer Councillor Icy's question. The Grassy Point has got one, and I think it has like 20 units on it, which has been there for, I think, 20 years now. And it's always seemed to have worked well, so maybe you should check that out.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Nicol?
I think listening to the CAO, it might be a good opportunity for a motion to defer, to leave this until August, that the staff and the developer can review the comments and questions the council have at this point. I can understand moving the needle a little bit further, but I think there's a few more questions or answers that we could probably use before we push much farther. So I'm not saying no, I'm just saying maybe we would get some more information back in August. So a motion to defer if I can
Councillor
find a
Nicol,
seconder.
do you have a seconder? Councillor Ices? I think in fairness, when this application first came before us many years ago, I don't believe at that point Stroud Servicing was as in the near future as we think it is now. So there's many moving parts, and things are changing more rapidly. And so I think doing the motion to defer might be a wise course of action. Seeing no other hands, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. The deferral motion is carried. Item D6, and that was Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Your Worship. I spoke with clerks earlier in the day, and I would like to propose a different recommendation than what was highlighted in the staff report.
And if you could put that forward, and if you have a seconder for that motion.
Councillor Davidson.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Davidson.
He's Councillor Davidson when we're at County Council, so it's okay. All right. Whenever you're ready, you wanted to speak to that.
Yeah, so as we heard from the open forum with Ms. Chalmers, the concerns about entry into a property in an industrial area, and the reason that we have industrial areas are there so that type of equipment can operate safely and allow businesses to operate in that area. So when we look at option 5 in the report, it has no parking on both sides of Thomas, which would allow the traffic to flow the way the businesses need to operate their business. So that's why I have brought that option forward.
Questions or comments on the revised recommendation? Seeing none, all those in favor of the recommendation? I didn't see everybody's hand. Sorry, that's carried. Rise recommendation is moved by, we need a rise recommendation now. Councillor Van Berkel, Deputy Mayor Davidson, all those in favor? That's carried. And motion to, that the recommendations, a confirming motion would be Councillor Payne and Councillor Waters. All those in favor? That's carried. Announcements. Deputy Mayor.
Just want to make everyone aware this weekend is Canada Day weekend. So there's lots of activities taking place at the Legions. Sandy Cove Acres is putting their parade on Monday. I think starts at 9:45. So come out and support your local community groups. Thank you.
Anyone else have any? Councillor Ices.
Yeah, I have an announcement from Ward 1 in the Stroud Arena. There's an exciting new event or activity rather that the whole town can participate in, and that's roller skating. So we have a local business that is going to have roller skating regularly out of the Stroud Arena. So keep your ears and eyes open for that. And if you have your skates somewhere in the basement, you can get them out. But I'm sure they'll have some for you as well.
Get them out and dust them off.
Dust them off, yeah.
I think they open on Saturday, actually, Councillor.
That's correct, yes.
Councillor Payne.
Thank you. Just another Canada Day one here. I'm on the Canada Day committee for Sandy Cove Acres, and there is a parade on July 1st. I'm pleased to say that the money that's being raised from this event, which includes a residence dance, which is sold out, the money is going to be donated to the Rizzardo Health Center. So that was agreed on by all the committee for the Canada Day from Sandy Cove Acres. So happy Canada Day, everyone.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'm in total shock that we had an agenda that packed and that we're done at 8:30 at night. But what might have something to do with that is the fact this is our last regular council meeting until August 14th. So we'll be taking a bit of a break. So I do want to wish everybody having a nice small vacation without 500 pages of council to read every other week. And I hope you have a wonderful, safe, and happy holiday. And I hope to see you all back August the 14th at our next regular meeting of council or at the call of the mayor. We always say that in case there is an emergency, but we're keeping our fingers crossed that there won't be one. So thanks to everybody for coming out tonight. Now we have the confirming